Before we start this video, I've got a very important question for you. What does a billionaire and somebody who's worth 300 million and somebody who's worth 100 million all have in common? The one thing they have in common is their desire and their ability to learn. In other words, everything that you want to do has probably already been done. So rather than taking the long route and trying to just fail your way forward and figure it out yourself, if you have the humility and the appetite for learning, you can very simply just learn from other people. My name is Joe Binder, and by the time I turned 26, my first business had become a £1 million company. I've since started 3 more businesses, so now I have 4, and I'm going to go absolutely wild, all guns blazing in 2024. And in order to do that, I'm going to seek as much knowledge from as many humans as possible. And the way I'm going to do that is through books. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 books that are in the process of changing my life, and I suggest you read them in 2024. But before we get into it, I'm going to make one thing really clear. This is not a bog standard list of books. It's very likely that you would not have heard of these books before, so embrace that, because trust me, these are good. So without further ado, let's get into it. Book number 1 is called Rocket Fuel. The most valuable thing that I learned from Rocket Fuel is that every single human sits on a spectrum from visionary to integrator. On the visionary end, that is the type of person who has a lot of ideas. They love thinking, they love big plans, they love energy, they love being the face of stuff, but they probably don't love spreadsheets and they probably don't love admin and organization and actually getting stuff done. However, on the other end of the spectrum, you have the integrator. Now, whilst they may not have the big ideas and all the energy, they actually seek the energy from the people with the big ideas, and they do like getting stuff done. They are the ones to make the trains run on time. They are the ones who make sure everything runs smoothly. Now, recognizing where you sit on the visionary integrator framework is one of the most important things that you can do for your business. I read that book, well, I read the first 2 chapters, and that's what I was recommended to by a friend, and that's what I read. And that's what I'm recommending to you. Since then, it has changed my life, because every single person that I've hired since, I ask them just a few simple questions to figure out where they sit on this framework, and it allows me to work with them in a way that is so much faster. The reason that this book has changed my life is that now when I hire people, I ask them a few simple questions, and it gives me a really clear picture of where they sit on this spectrum, and therefore it allows me to build 3, 4, 5 months worth of rapport in an hour. That's just the reality of it. If you read that book, that's the level of skill that you unlock. Book number 2 is called Die with Zero. I'm in the process of reading this book, and already it has changed my view on money. I used to be really insecure around money. I used to be scared that I wasn't going to have enough, and every single day I would think, money, money, money. Do I have enough? Am I going to have enough? Am I going to be able to raise a family and live where I want to live? Those questions really held me back. Now I see money as fuel. Fuel to put into a business, and then out also comes money. It's like a conveyor belt of money. That's how it works. What is most important to me is recognizing that you can't take it with you. You can't stack up your cash in your coffin. You don't want to be the richest person in the graveyard. If you want to have loads of fun, or have the people around you have loads of fun, and you need money to do that, well, if you've got the money, why wait? Do it now. That book has changed everything for me, and I would really recommend it. Book number 3 is called Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter from Curtis Jackson, also known as 50 Cent. I have learned an insane amount from this book so far, but the one key takeaway for me is demand sells. In other words, if there's high demand for something, more people want it, and that applies to everything in business, that applies to everything in life. If there is a crowd outside one venue and the other venue is empty, you're probably going to walk over to the venue with the crowd because you want to see what all the fuss is about. Demand creates demand. Book number 4 is called Unsexy Business, and it very much is what it says in the tin. Businesses that are not sexy, they're not flash, they don't have AI, they're actually really boring, but they actually are businesses that make a lot of money. We're talking laundromats, we're talking coffee machines that you put in newsagents. Things that people don't want to do, but are there to be done, can actually make a ton of money. I read that book in its entirety. I was addicted to finishing it because it was so good and it changed everything and it challenged me so much. I used to want to run a business for my ego, so I felt good and I looked successful. Now I don't care as much for that. Now I want to run a business because I'm going to die one day and I want to make the most of it. And it just so happens to be the fact. And it just so happens to be true that I really enjoy building businesses, and it allows me to have a lot of impact, and I like that. But reading that book around boring businesses made me really consider, maybe I'll start a boring business, and then come to terms with the fact that I wouldn't be publicizing the business, I wouldn't be showing my face off online. In other words, I would be building a business entirely without being star of the show publicly, and the fact that I was able to entertain that idea and really work on that business plan for a few weeks really made me realize, wow, this doesn't involve my ego, and that's a great thing. I've made really good progress, and actually, boring businesses are bloody awesome. And finally, a book that I just started reading, but again, I love it so much. It doesn't have to be crazy at work. One of the things I loved from the book is where it said meetings are a last resort. You don't need an hour meeting if it can be done on an email. You don't need a half an hour meeting if it just doesn't require a meeting. One hour meeting for 3 people is 3 hours worth of time, which isn't really necessary. You can probably do it in a more effective way. And I love how this book just lays it out plain and simple and says, just because it's been done that way before doesn't mean we need to do it that way. Those are my 2024 book recommendations. I would highly recommend them. But before I end this video, I want to ask you, what is your one book recommendation that you would recommend to me to read in 2024? Please comment below because I love learning new stuff. Thanks so much. Bye.